Hi there, and thank you for watching. My name is Margarita, and I'm the founder of the Marriage Immigration Method. Inside our method, we focus on one thing and one thing only, and that is marriage adjustment of status. We guide independent and self-sufficient couples through the entire marriage immigration process, empowering them to secure their conditional green card, removal of conditions, and naturalization independently without the need to hire a lawyer. So, if you're ready to take control of your case, this method is for you. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any updates from us. And this is the incredible story of Ariana and Ryan. Every immigration journey is so different, so definitely stick around to hear their full story. Hi there, would you mind introducing yourself and letting us know where you were originally from?
So, hi, I'm Ariana, and I'm originally from Italy, and I recently relocated here to the US through marriage.
Awesome. And tell us a little bit about Ryan. Like, I obviously know he's originally from the US, but where exactly
Yeah,
from?
so he's local here to Florida. He grew up here and he's working. He has a corporate job at the moment, and he's actually very busy. That's why he's also not in the call today. Yeah.
Wow. So how did you guys come to be? Tell us in just a few words. You're so far away from each other originally, but how
I
did this
know.
come to be?
So, well, I used to work on yachts and I was traveling a lot. And the past few years, my yachts were spending the winters in Florida a lot. And we met through an online dating site, and we started by being friends and then developed the relationship from there.
That's amazing. So have you been in the US since last year?
Yeah, actually, I've been here since April 2023,
Mm-hmm. Perfect. And
like
then,
continuously.
okay, so you entered the US on many different occasions, but then at one point you guys connected, and here we
Hmm.
are today. Obviously, it all escalated and led to this
Yeah.
super, super serious thing. And at some point, you did know that you would need to take care of the green card. So,
Yeah,
what was
of
your
course.
initial plan? How did you think you were going to handle the green card process?
Well, I started by asking some friends and be like, hey, I know that you got married here and everything. What did you do? So I was kind of like given few contacts from lawyers in the beginning. So that's how I started tackling the process, by calling actually these lawyers, immigration lawyers, and asking for information. But of course, it was also like an expensive thing to do because a consultation is not cheap. So it would go from $100 to a $250 consultation fees just to ask questions on what to do. So then I started, researching a lot on the internet, and it was a non enough process for me because obviously, in the beginning, it felt very intimidating. I feel like we all know that how the immigration process here is portrayed as a very intimidating thing. So I would be researching, very motivated, and then at some point I'd be like, this is too hard. I don't know how to do it. I don't know where to start from. And then I would just give up and not think about it for months. And then, pick up the thing again, because even before getting married, we were already looking into information to not put ourselves in a difficult position.
So tell me about those consultations. Aside from you having to pay for them, which did you do a couple? How many attorneys did you meet with?
I think I talked to 3 or 4 attorneys.
Okay, how was that experience? Tell me that.
So I did have one attorney that seemed very knowledgeable. She was very good. She's from New York, and she actually gave me most of the information I started with. And then after that first consultation, I started doing my own research on and off, as I said. So I kind of like educated myself on the thing. So then when I did the other 3 consultations, I kind of had like an idea of what I was gonna, face. And so those three were actually a bit disappointing because I felt like I asked questions, and I remember one of the attorney being very outdated in a way that I remember reading a lot of articles about how nowadays interviews are being waived and everything. And the lawyer was literally like, no, this is impossible. Interviews are not being waived. So that gave me a signal of, oh, maybe this attorney is not really updated on what is going on right now. So maybe it's not the best choice. So I was very meticulous when it came to these consultations because there were specific informations that I wanted to hear. So when I was not hearing them, I'm like, I don't think I can trust this. Also because, as you know, it's a lot of money to spend, and I was like, I really want to be cautious when it comes to that.
So the first attorney was great. She gave you a lot of very useful information. Why did you decide not to work with her? Was it
She was extremely expensive. Just for the green card phase, like the first part, it was around $9,000, and I was like, I don't think I can do that. It was really a lot, and that was not even including my kids in the process.
And not including the filing fees?
I believe not. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I didn't even go through with it. When I heard that amount, I was just like, this is too much. Also because, of course, being in a situation where you are married and you're not really allowed to work, I was like, where am I going to get that money to pay?
Wow. Okay. Then the second one just was out of date. Like she was outdated.
Yeah,
No stuff.
I just didn't get informations, and then I started looking at videos, and that's how I actually found you guys as well. But I found someone else before you that I saw also had like a huge following, and this was through TikTok actually. And I believe he's based in California. So I did set up a consultation with him. He was very vague. And then I also asked one of the specific questions I had, which now I don't. Oh, it was actually about the kids. I was like, can I file with them? And his advice was, you file for yourself and then you can file for a tourist visa for them. And I was like, I do believe that I read that if I apply for a tourist visa for them while I'm in the process, that's going to be rejected because they, of course, know that I'm trying to get them here without going through the consular process. So that gave me a huge red flag again. And I was like, okay, I don't think this is the best choice as well. And yeah, and then the last attorney I talked to was local here. Beside the fact that I think there was a huge language barrier, I also think he wasn't really updated on the new, like the new whole movement where interviews are being waived and processes are so much faster right now. He was like, it's going to take 2 years or something like that. And I was like, well, not really. I've been seeing a lot more faster movements at the moment. So that's why I didn't opt for these attorneys.
And you did get through in like about 6 months? That's how long it took.
I think 5 months
Oh,
actually.
even 5 months. Okay.
Yeah.
2 years whatsoever. Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, look, I remember that when we connected, you also told me that you were speaking to somebody else. Like you basically almost went with somebody else. It was
Oh
like,
yeah. Actually, yeah. I forgot about her.
yeah, who was that person? Was it an attorney or non-attorney?
She was not an attorney. She
Tell me.
was,
Like a paralegal, something to that
I
extent.
believe she was like a paralegal. And how did I find her? I think I was Googling, and then I found her contact, sent an email, and then she started calling me. And we had a few consultations. And the thing about her was that, yeah, she was not an attorney. So I was like, is this someone that is only experienced in the area but doesn't really have the knowledge that I'm looking for? And also she did give me like few quotes. One was with me individually and the other one with my kids, and it was very confusing the way she made these quotes, and I kept going back and forth asking, what do you mean, what do I need to pay up front and everything? And then basically she was like, okay, you can pay on installment, but then the moment I file the papers, you have to pay everything. And I was like, I do know that if I sit down and have all the documents in 2 weeks, then that would mean just like a 2 week difference from the first payment to the whole package. So I was like, it's still not helping me. So it wasn't, exactly accommodating to my needs. That's why I was like, I kept looking for options.
And do you remember by any chance how much was that process? Maybe you don't remember anymore, but just
I believe that with her, I think it was still around, oh yeah, it was actually around 12,000 with the kids and with the filing fees as well.
Wow.
Yeah, 12,000, because it was going to be, for some reason it was 5,000 for me alone and 7,000 for them in total. So it was a lot. So of course I had no means of providing $12,000 in the span of a month, and it was not an option.
You guys, that is crazy.
Yeah,
These numbers are just like kind of intense
I
sounding.
know.
Even coming from non-lawyers, and I get like Southern Florida is obviously intense
Mm-hmm.
in that way, but it's like this is really intense because I remember when we connected and you told me these numbers, I was like, I don't know, what am I doing something wrong? Like, what's going on? Like,
Yeah,
how can these people, like, now that you know the process, can you
yeah,
believe that that's how much they charge
exactly.
for
When
something?
you actually have an overview of what you're doing, you're just like, I would have paid $12,000 for someone else to do it for me when I'm still the one providing the documents anyway. So thank God I find you guys really.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense at the end. Okay, but you tell me, what were you looking to achieve? Like, what was your end goal at the time?
My end goal was to do this process as quick as possible and with a reasonable price, honestly, because of course, even if you are married to a US citizen and you educate yourself on the whole process, the whole thing of like not having at least my papers in the process was something very scary in a way for me. Like I wasn't at peace because once your papers are in, you have the excuse of saying, hey, this is the letter, USCIS is processing my immigration, so I'm good. But while you're floating and there's like a lot of uncertainty, um, immigration in the US does sound pretty threatening, like being deported and being banned for years and all these things. So I really wanted to get it done as quick as possible, and of course with a good price.
Was there a moment that you were out of status and that's where the stress came from, or were you not even?
I basically overstayed my visa, which
Yeah.
I knew it was gonna be forgiven anyway,
Yeah.
but for some reason that was not giving me peace. I was like, the fact that my visa was overstayed and it was not expired, but just overstayed. I was
Mhm.
terrified of the idea of, being in the list of being deported or something.
So it was there, kind of creeping
Yeah.
in.
Mm-hmm.
Let me also ask you, obviously everybody thinks about the green card, right? The first step, I need to do the green card. This is
Yeah.
my objective right now. Have you considered that you would also need to do the removal of conditions and naturalization, or at the time you were not worried about that?
Well, I did read that I had to go through that process, but I was not worried about it, to be honest. I was just like, I want to get the first step done, and then I'll think about the rest later. Because, as I said, it's very intimidating in the beginning. It feels like a lot.
Yeah.
So I was like, I just want to get this first thing done. So it was in the back of my mind, but not as a priority at all.
So then your English is perfect. Like
Thank you.
obviously because of your background, it's absolutely perfect. So I have to ask you, have you considered doing it entirely on your own without getting any help? You just sit down and you try to put it
Um,
together.
I did. I was told by people that maybe I should have done it alone. And I was going through forums and Facebook groups before joining your group, trying to read and see how doable it was. And I did read of people like doing it on their own, that it was actually very easy and everything. But my situation was, I didn't want to take the risk because of the overstaying and because of my kids. So those were the two factors that were keeping me from risking it on my own. And then later on, seeing how you manage the whole program, that was like a proof to me that I made the right choice, because there are details that even if you are capable of reading and understanding, the forms, there are few things that you wouldn't know without the expertise of someone that is doing that on a regular basis.
Can you think of an example?
For example, the medical. I've read of so many people on the forums and in these groups submitting their papers, but not the medical. And then later on would receive an RFE to submit their own medical, which of course is gonna make the process even longer.
Yeah.
So that was one thing that I remember I kept saying, this is great. You know, I would have no idea about it if I didn't have someone, you know, that is like, it's best for you to do it. You don't even know actually if you're allowed to send your medical straight away, you know, because it doesn't show us something that is like urgent to be sent with the whole package.
That's great. That's a really great example. Okay, before you enrolled, what was your
Mhm.
biggest challenge? Like, what were you struggling with the most at the time? Was it everything? Like, where do I start? Like, what do I need? You tell me.
It was, yeah, the amount of forms and where do I start from? What do I need to prioritize? And then the not having someone, you know, that would specifically tell me this is how it works. I really wanted someone basically, because I think one very good thing about your method is also having the group where you can compare your experience to others that are going through the same process. I feel like in the other forums and groups that I would find online, it was very scattered, like very different cases, someone coming from DACA or these kind of things. And it was too many information, but no guidance at all, which is something that I got from your method. I had the guidance, but I also had testimonials and experiences from people going through the same thing. So I think that combination was really good.
So initially, what motivated you to connect with us? Like, what resonated with you when you were looking for a solution to this problem?
So I remember started watching your videos on TikTok, and I felt like it was very short videos with a lot of information, and they were kind of reflecting whatever information I was actually finding online by researching. So I'm like, okay, that must be true because I've been reading these things too. And then um, I remember even before getting married, because I was watching these videos, I probably followed you and started liking some videos. You messaged me on Instagram and you were like, hi, I would like to know, you know, what is your situation? Are you planning on going through this process? And that to me was something comforting in a way. And I'm like, you kind of got gained my trust straight away because you were like approaching me when I was like in this whole being, you know, almost clueless about this whole thing.
Yeah, that's right. Did you I would imagine you were experiencing a lot of stress and anxiety around it because it was like a big thing, it was looming,
Yeah.
and you weren't sure, how am I going to do this? Like speaking to all these types of people, and I would imagine it felt overwhelming at times.
Yeah, it was extremely overwhelming. And as I said, the way this process is being, you know, kind of um, portrayed online and even
By
the
lawyers.
by lawyers, it's very scary. It seems like this big monster where you're it's not guaranteed that you're gonna go and defeat it. You know, it almost felt like that. I know that it sounds a bit dramatic, but that's how it feels from a point of view of someone coming from outside.
Yeah, yeah. I can see that. Okay, so you basically enroll pretty much right away. So let's talk about our conversation. How did you just trust us? Meaning you saw us on the internet, you then had a conversation with us, and it was you and Ryan. I remember like that
Yeah.
very, very well. Why did you guys feel comfortable basically working with us?
Well, we had that conversation, and okay, I already had like kind of like a previous knowledge from watch. I probably watched all your videos on TikTok and YouTube before I even started talking to you, and all the questions I was asking, you had a, you know, a great answer, or you showed that okay, we're gonna look into this and find an answer about it, and then um the fact that you were offering a group where you could, you know, compare your experience. And you did mention to me as well during the call that you were offering a consultation every week, so we could, you know, set up this thing where every week I have my questions and you answer them and everything, which I believe it's not something that you could do with an attorney. You cannot be calling them every week. They would just be like, you know, I will let you know when something happens, and that's it. So that was something that really helped. And as well, the fact that it was actually a surprise to me when you told me that, okay, this price includes the whole process from, getting the green card, removing the conditions, and then all the way up to citizenship. And I was like, well, if I go through an attorney, if it's 9,000 the first, the first chunk, then you can imagine you're going to go up till at least 15,000 just to do the whole thing. So those were the winning points.
Wow, wow. And sounds like Ryan also felt aligned with what we were doing because he was,
Yeah,
I know he was very supportive in this
he was.
process. He was
And
going to
he
give
had
you
his
whatever you
questions
needed.
as well. Yeah. I remember he was at work when we had the first call, and he was in the car, asked for his lunch break at that time, I think, so that he could be in the call and ask his questions, because of course it's like, ask this, ask that. And he was very involved throughout the whole process, even during when I was like, doing all the forms and everything. He was sitting there with me, and he was like, check what you write down, check it twice, make sure that everything is signed. So yeah, he was very supportive through the whole process as well.
That's amazing. I'm so glad that it worked out and the way it
And
worked.
as well, with the documents that he needed to provide from work for the taxes and everything, he was very quick in doing that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you find the information we teach to be clear and easy to understand?
Extremely. Yeah. I think it's if you watch the videos, it's, sorry, excuse my word, but I think it's idiot proof, like, it's a step by step. And not only that, because you can also find videos on YouTube where you have people, like, I never watched them, those, to be honest, but you were adding informations to it. Like, sometimes I would go through these videos, and I remember having my forms printed and my pencil, so I was like, filling the forms while watching your videos, and then I would be like, but yeah, I have a question, so I would write down the question, and then after a few minutes you would give me the answer in the video, like, without me even contacting you or anything. Like, you had those informations in the video already, so that was amazing, honestly. That was such amazing.
I remember how when we connected, like after you enrolled and some time went by, and then you told me that, yeah, it's like it's pretty dense. It's pretty like there's a lot of information basically in all of
Yeah,
this. So sounds like
there is.
it all came.
There really is. It's like, it almost felt like sometimes having you, like, having like a personal class where you would explain the whole thing, because, as I said, I would have a question, write it down, and you actually would provide the answer already. So, and I don't think you can easily find that anywhere else. You wouldn't have that access with a lawyer.
Tell me, why would you say that? Like, how do you
Because of course they wouldn't go through with the form. They would be like, just send me the documents. They would fill up the form, so you would have no idea. You wouldn't even know what informations you're providing at some point, because you're not really going through the questions. And now, a lot of the things I've gone through this process, I have answers. I can kind of explain it to someone else if I had to, because I really understood. Like, you really explained why things should be answered in a certain way, when a lawyer would just take it and not give you an explanation, because they don't have to, really. So it's not just having it done, but it's also understanding it,
Mm,
which is a side that you don't get from an attorney.
wow. Let's go over your timeline.
Yeah.
The good part about this. So,
Mhm.
do you remember when you first enrolled into the program?
I first enrolled, I believe it was the first week of January of
Yep.
this year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. How quickly were you able to start and make progress on your application after joining?
I was very motivated. So I was like, I need to get this done now. And I believe in a couple of weeks, I almost had everything ready. And we had this Wednesday meeting, and I was showing you all these papers. I was like, what am I missing here? What am I missing there? And I think in 3 weeks max, I had everything ready, like all documentations, everything printed, and pictures and medical. Because the medical, I think I did the following week of joining the program.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you basically joined, you started working on it right away. You did the medical exam that was obviously being processed. And in the time
Yeah.
you kept adding, you were doing the evidence, just basically putting everything together. But all in all, it took about 3 weeks.
Yes. I think to put everything together, like ready to go, it was 3 weeks. Actually, yeah, it was 3 weeks because I joined the first week of January and I submitted the package. I sent the package on my birthday, which is on the 31st of January. So yeah, it took me exactly 3 weeks to do everything.
So January 31st, 2024 is when it was
Yes.
shipped.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So what happened from there?
Then from there, it took few days for them to actually send me the receipt notice. I think it was like 5 days, less than a week. And then that's funny because I believe I saw the appointment online on my account online, and then I went through the course again because I knew I could reschedule it.
Yeah.
That was another thing that you would have no idea alone that you could do. So I did reschedule it, and I was able to reschedule it for after a couple days of seeing this appointment. So Feb 15, it was my biometrics appointment, and I was like, stars are aligning because that was my son's birthday. So I sent my package on my birthday, and then on my son's birthday, I had my biometrics done. It was a very quick process, and then I was on the way home, and I received a notification that it was being actively reviewed. And the next day, they approved my work authorization, and that was exactly 17 days after sending the package.
Wow, that's very nice. That's very
Yeah.
nice.
Perfect.
I also have to ask you, like, did you feel confident about your application? Like before you submitted it, like obviously you went over it. How did you feel? Did you have any fears or concerns about it, or did you feel pretty good?
I was pretty confident because the program goes through everything up to even showing a picture of how the package was supposed to look like and how to put all the forms, which is something that might sound silly, but it's like when you're doing, a homework in school and you see your classmates and you're like, oh, that's how I do it. That's the amount I have to, so I think it's right.
Let's
So
go.
even seeing that to me was very useful. I was really confident when I sent it. I was like, I got everything, and I believe that because I feel like that's the only area where you have more freedom and do it like on your own little way
Yeah,
to show the evidence. So maybe there's a way that is not the most appropriate or it's not very effective, let's say. So having access to you every week, as I said, give me the chance to actually verify that. And yeah, I was pretty confident.
that's cool. I also have to ask you, how did you feel about the fact that you were doing it on your own timeline? Like, you see what I mean? Because obviously when let's say you work with a lawyer or however you're handling it, you're on somebody else's timeline. Like you have to connect with these
Mhm.
people or you have to provide them
Yeah.
with information. But here you're completely on your own timeline. Did you find that to be like comfortable and good?
Well, in my case, yeah, because I'm a very anxious person in a way. So when I think about something, I have to get it done as soon as I can. And so that would mean opening my laptop and going through the course at 3 a.m. in the morning if I couldn't sleep. And of course, if you think about these things with an attorney, you have to wait, set an appointment, and be on the phone with them, and then ask the question, and then, go ahead with whatever it is that is your concern. Having the program and this kind of access, and then even the group, you could go anytime, really. I was doing that on a weekend, I was doing that in the morning, at night, before going to bed. It was any little chance I could get, I was on it. That's why I feel like that was also something that sped up the process a lot.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, so it took you 17 days to get your work permit. So you
Yeah.
submitted the application on January 31st. sometime like 2 weeks into February, you got that. What happened from there? You also submitted applications for your kids around March before the filing
Yeah,
fees went up.
it was around end of March. Yes.
And then what happened from there?
Then there was a stagnant phase where I almost started worrying, but then I was like, hey, Ariana, it's been 2 3 months. It's because I feel like the process in the beginning was so quick. Then after the work authorization, I started feeling like, what now? And then I would read, posts everywhere and even on our group, and I would be like, what about mine? But then I would have to remind myself that, hey, there are people waiting for years and nothing's happening. You got your work authorization after 17 days, which is super quick. I was almost on that high that I wanted everything to just, come to an end very quickly. So yeah, there was like, I would say 2 3 months where there was no movement. And in the beginning, I was checking like almost every day. And then it started, fading where I would do it like twice a week or once a week. And then I calmed down a lot. Also because I had my work authorization. So at least I could work legally.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't think anybody's going to kick me out. Now I'm working, I'm paying taxes, and I'm pretty regular here. I have my husband and everything. So I was pretty calm, and it was almost like just a comfort thing to go on the group and read about other people's experience. And I was like, this is gonna happen for me soon.
And it did. It
And
did.
it,
It
yeah,
did.
it did. Like it wasn't a phase where I wasn't even checking the account that much anymore. I just received this email from USCIS saying that something happened. And then I checked my account and it didn't reflect straight away. So I was like, well, let's see what's going to happen. And then it was the I-130 being actively reviewed. And then I think after a couple of days, everything was approved.
When was that? Do you remember approximately the date?
It was, I believe, June 27, around those days. Yeah.
June 27. And then
Yeah.
so you submitted everything end of January, and then June 27 is when you were done with the whole deal. And then it didn't take you long to receive the physical green card either.
No, I think it was like a little more than a week. That was it. I got my green card. It was actually July 3rd. That's why then July 4th we celebrated and I had my green card with me. And I was like, this is just perfect timing.
Yeah, I thought it was the coolest thing because I saw your post and it was such
Oh
like
yeah.
little pictures that you guys took on that day. I was like,
Yeah.
"Whoa, this was
It
perfect,
was,
perfect timing."
yeah. I think that everything in my process was actually magical timing. Everything was like aligning in a certain way that was just like meant to be that way.
Wow, wow. And no RFEs, no interview, nothing.
No RFEs, no interviews, no anomalies. Everything was super smooth.
Did you like it that you guys got to work on this together? Like, because the program
Yeah.
technically is designed for the couples to, understand this process together. What did you think about that?
As I said, yeah, you gave that aspect of it, which is like the understanding the process, and you are so much more involved, and you get to check things on your own, and that is something that makes you feel in control. Because of course, with this process with immigration, it's not really in your control in a way that there's not a designated timeline that you can relate to.
Yeah.
So having this access was at least giving you the comfort of like, okay, I can check it on my own, and you're not waiting on on an attorney calling you, okay, there's news, or no, there's nothing, and you just don't know what to do with yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me a few words about the community. Did you like it that, whenever you had a question or whenever anything came up, first you could ask there, and secondly, you could also search, in
Yeah.
case like it was over the weekend, and you couldn't get the immediate access. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I was doing that a lot actually, because it did I mean, I did post a couple times, I believe, and the responses were very quick as long as they were like in the working day. And then during the weekend, yeah, you have this access where you can just search with the keywords, and then previous posts would kind of come out. So yeah, that was such a great tool to have during the whole process. And of course, the culture of the community and everyone supporting you was amazing.
Wow. And support calls. Sounds like you just liked the fact that you could connect with a live person who actually understands your situation and ask whatever questions you have at a designated time. So that gave
Yeah,
you peace of mind is what
a
happened.
lot. A lot, because every time that I would be like, sometimes I would be sitting with my husband with the forms and be like, I'm not really sure about this. So we would be like, okay, there's a call on Wednesday. Let's just write down the questions. And the fact that you ask the questions to be submitted before the call, that was even better, because of course then you would already have the time to look for the answer. So it was not on the spot thing and be like, okay, let's set up another call. No, it
Mm.
would be, very, very quick in that sense. So, yeah, that was a big, big help.
So then how do you feel about the fact that you did this alone without hiring a lawyer? It is
I
your
feel proud. I feel proud, and I actually tell people about this group all the time. Like I had a couple of friends. I have a friend in New York that I was doing the same process. She went from a working visa here in the US to getting married. And she was telling me about how she has an attorney, that she paid a lot of money, and that she was not really getting updates. And as well, when I was like, kind of like comparing the cases, and I was telling her, yeah, did you send your medical straight away? She was like, no, I didn't. I was feeling like, I have the knowledge and understanding now, and I can see how going through an attorney is not really giving you that. So yeah, it's amazing. Then I had a friend actually approaching me and asking me, hey, I'm about to get married, what do you think is the best way to do this? And I was like, just contact me when you do, and I actually have someone that I can recommend for this process, and it's going to be the right choice.
Wow. All right. So then last question. What would you say to someone who is trying to decide between hiring a lawyer, maybe doing it entirely by themselves, or actually going through our program?
Well, of course, every case is different, but if you really want a peace of mind, I think doing it through this program is having the doing it alone and having an attorney mixed together, but in a more trustworthy way, if that makes sense. Because as I said, attorneys, yeah, they have the knowledge, but I think that also the involvement in the with social media and having the possibility to talk to a lot of people, and we do know that nowadays, a lot of people get their information through social media,
Yeah.
um, is making it easier to actually keep yourself up to date. So uh, nowadays that's way to go, and that's why I would totally recommend doing it this way, because you have the part where you do it on your own, but still with very good guidance, so that you have control over your process, you understand your process, but still have the access of someone very knowledgeable whenever you feel like you have concerns.
Any last comments? Any last anything before I let you go?
I'm just very thankful, and I do not regret at all joining this program. You were a big part of the success of my journey, so I'm really, really thankful.
Wow, thank you so, so much. And thank you for
Thank
taking
you.
your time today to connect with me. And I look
No worries
forward
at
to
all.
seeing you inside the group. Sounds good?
Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, what an amazing experience. And for anyone who hasn't heard about the marriage immigration method yet, it is a step-by-step coaching program designed for ambitious couples and how to go from lost and unable to find the right solution to getting through their entire immigration process on the first try without making any time delaying mistakes. If this interview resonated with you and you want this transformation for yourself, you can apply to our program by following the links below. We've also included a few free helpful resources in case you're in the very beginning of this journey. Thank you, and I'll see you soon.